Tell me, friends, has anyone ever made you a video that shows you the 3 original 100 series Electrolux upright vacuum cleaners? No? Oh. Well, that sucks. See you next time. Bye for now. I am, of course, joking. I am going to bore you to tears with the original trio of Electrolux upright vacuum cleaners. Oh, I know, it's hard to contain your excitement. I'm with you on that. I totally understand. But I thought it would be quite interesting to make this video. On YouTube, the various 100 series machines are around. You can find them all. You can find the 152, the 160, the 170, but there's no video where they are all together at the same time. And also what I thought would be really interesting was to do a comparison between each of the 3 versions of the 100 series. So let's start. I have them here. They're here. They're right here. So let's start with the original. This little bad boy. The Electrolux 152. Oh, my goodness me. Let's bring him in a bit further. There we go. This is an incredibly important vacuum cleaner because this was the very first Electrolux upright. The very, very first. And that's quite something, actually. When you think about that, you think about how massive Electrolux is and how important they have been. To be sat here looking at the original upright machine, wow, it's pretty cool. It took me years to find one of these. Honestly, years and years. I think this one arrived in 2023, I think. Very hard to find now, very hard to find. But yeah, it's the first of its kind. So 152 was produced from 1967 to 1969, if memory serves, 7, 8, 9. So it was in production for 3 years. And it's amazing. I love it. It's so cool. What a great little cleaner. Now, I'm not going to say it was perfect by any means, but it was really, really cool. You imagine going into the shop and seeing this stood there. You're like, oh, wow, that's different. It's not something we've seen very much of. Look, where's the dust bag? Where's the cloth bag? Oh, there isn't a cloth bag. There's a box, dust box. Oh, kaboom. Now this particular machine is, if memory serves, from 1967. Yes, it's the 15th week of 67. It's in really nice shape, actually, considering its age and what it is. So, Electrolux's first attempt, how did it go? Well, not too bad, I suppose. There are issues with these cleaners, which I will get onto later. When we have the trio here, I will talk about that. Interestingly, this machine has its ratchet release here, here on the side. There's a great big pedal that sticks out the side. It's actually like proud of the front of the cleaner. So like the line comes to here, and it's a little bit janky, I suppose you could say. Didn't sell many of these. Very hard to find now. Comparatively to the Hoover Junior of the time, they were quite expensive, and I think that's probably what put people off them. Let's say you could pick up a Hoover Junior for £40. The 152 was £50. Now, £10 now in 2025 sounds like nothing, but £10 in the late 60s, early 70s, oh Jesus, that was a lot of money. A lot of money. So people bought the Junior. Hoover had the name, they had the reputation. people bought those more than they bought the Luxes. So yeah, let's get the next one up and then we'll do a comparison between 152 and the second model, which was this one, 160. Take two, let's try again. So what differences do we have? Well, the dust boxes are different. This has got like a louvered effect. This is just like holes punched in the front of the box. There's like an actual Electrolux symbol on this one that's stuck here. But on this one, there is actually no Electrolux symbol. The front of the machine looks a bit more stylized, a bit more designed, I suppose you could say. Whereas this is just a green lump with Electrolux written on it. This has a hood design with a really quite swish silver badge, Electrolux. There's the Lux symbol, and it actually says the model number on it, 160. They changed the ratchet for the 160. As you can see here on the side, the ratchet pedal is now flush with the chassis. It's actually integrated into it rather than poking out the side here. It's at the top, which is pretty cool. 160 ran from 1969 to 1971, if memory serves, and this is, no, I did look yesterday, this is a 1969 machine. But this again was incredibly hard to find because these two models are the hardest by a long chalk to try and find now if you want to collect these particular vacuum cleaners. Because of their short production run and because of the issues they had, it's very difficult to find them. I've had this one for a good few years. Don't remember really seeing these as a child. When I was working in Jeff's shop, we very, very rarely saw 152 or 160. It was always 170. That was the one that we saw the most of. By far the most was 170. Occasionally saw these, but years would go past. Essentially, these are the same cleaner, with the only difference being the relocation of the ratchet. Everything else is the same. Bag access, the motor, the fan, the brush roll, the twin speed switch, which I will come on to very shortly. The only difference is the location of the ratchet. So if we bring up 170, oh, whoopsie. Ooh, sorry, 160. Oh, that's ruined the video now, isn't it? Get on there. I didn't know it could do that. You go there. And let's bring up 170. So this, by far, 170. Actually, let's move. Oh, I've got too many machines out. Let's move him over here, like so. 170 is by far the most common version. 170 was on the market from 1971 to 1981. So it had a 10-year run and was finally replaced by the 400 series, of which I have a 411 down there. Is 411? Yes, in 81. So it had a hell of a long production life. Hence why we used to see these much more frequently than these two. Differences, well, colour scheme is different. We have lost the nice silver look on the front. We've gone with the brown, but it says Electrolux 170, so you can see the model number. The dust box is the same as 160, so it's like a louvered kind of style. They've brought back the Electrolux logo for the front of the dust box there. This is all essentially the same. Very few changes here. We have an introduction of a mains on light. If I tip the machine forward, you can see the mains on light is here. Always baffled me as to what the point was of the mains on light. If you've got it plugged in and turned on, what does it matter if there's a light there glowing? What difference does it make? Why bother with that? It seems like a very strange feature. Do you know what I mean? It's like Yeah, we're trying to think of things to make our machine stand apart from the others. Let's put a lamp on it that shows when the mains is turned on. Okay, Electrolux, fine, if you want to do that. Okay, cool. It shares the same chassis as the 160. You see here that the ratchet release pedal is integrated into the machine's chassis. And everything else is the same as 160. There is one big difference between these two earlier machines and 170, and that is the deletion of, on the original machines, if I show you underneath, you see here, there's a switch. Now these cleaners used a pan converter style tool setup, which, you know, in comparison to the Hoover Junior, that is convenience wise really useful. So the pan would go on, clip in underneath, and it would press this switch in. And what that switch would do would be to energize all of the machine's field coil. Normally in upright mode, thusly, the motor would run probably around 60 to 70% of full tilt. But when that switch was pushed in, all of the field coil was energized and the motor would run at its maximum speed. Yeah, you kind of think to yourself, well, why would you bother with that? I mean, that 30 to 40% increase in motor speed with the tools, it's not going to make a massive amount of difference. And that's why, although it was included in 160, that's why it was deleted from 170. So if you look underneath any 170, you'll see there's still a hole here, but there's no switch. There's no switch in there. So 170 runs at full tilt all the time. I don't know if they actually changed the motor at all. So this was 280 watts. 280 watts, more powerful than a Hoover Junior. What was the wattage of this? Let me see. 250. So this is actually less. So this was 250 watts, and 160 was, let's see. Can I see that? Oh, 250 watts, and 170 was 280 watts. So there are slight differences in the power of the motor. Yeah, no twin speed on 170. Yeah. It was a cost reduced machine, essentially. Take out that feature. Would the consumer know any difference? Of course they wouldn't. Absolutely not. They would just put the tools on, click, boom, do the dusting, that's it, sorted. Now, whilst I really do like these machines, they are fantastic. They are very rare, and I'm very, very pleased to have them in my collection. There is a very good reason why you don't see them very often. And I suppose it relates more to 170 than it does to these guys, because these guys had a shorter production run. They are very old now, but 170 was around for 10 years. So you would think to yourself, well, you would find more of them. Even now, even all these years later, 40 plus years later, you would find more of them. There was a particular problem with these cleaners, and it relates to the fan. So the fan is here on the, it depends which way you're looking at it, but left or right side, up or front. The fan is here. It's a direct air machine, so all the dirt and the filth travels up into the fan and then is blown into the dust bag. Exactly the same way as the Hoover Junior works. None of that clean fan nonsense that would come out, well, which had come out in 1963 with the convertibles, or would be perfected in 1971 with the Electrolux 500 series. No. This is old school. This is direct air through the fan into the bag. The application of that is usually perfectly fine. However, it becomes a problem when you have a reasonably large fan in here that is made of metal. That sort of aluminium, alloy, magnesium, I don't really know what those fans are made of, but it is some kind of alloy. The application seemed to work really quite well in the Hoover Junior. You would very rarely find a Hoover Junior with a smashed fan. But oh my god, in these machines, if you vacuumed up anything larger than a peanut, let's say, no, that's slightly extreme. If you were to vacuum up like a small stone, a pebble, say, there was a very good chance that that pebble would smash the fan in these cleaners, and it would smash it to pieces. The fan's going around at a reasonable tilt. There's not much room around said fan, and that it was very, very common that the fans in these cleaners would just disintegrate, hit with a small stone, kaboom, fan gone, fan gone. It's very easy to change the fans in these machines. 4 screws underneath, top comes out, pick up the motor, undo the nut, fan off, old fan off, new fan on, re-nut, motor back in, hood on, 4 screws, you're done. You've changed the fan. It's no problem, absolutely not. They were quite clever in how they did that actually, because it's really, really simple. The problem comes with the damage that the shattered fan can do to the rest of the cleaner. And up here on the hoods, there is a piece of metal embedded into the top of the hood. These hoods are quite heavy. When you take them off, you hold them in your hand. They don't feel like a cheap bit of plastic, and you sort of turn it over and think, oh, there's a metal like shroud, shield, if you like, in the top section. There is not, however, a corresponding piece of metal on the underside of the fan chamber. So what tended to happen was the stone would go in, hit the fan, the stone would ping off. If it pinged downwards, plus any fan vanes that were flying off as well, they would puncture a hole in this section here. So the fan is here. This is literally the fan case here, this bit. And this is not protected. This plastic is not protected. It is just plastic here, no metal at all. And numerous times you would find that these cleaners had holes in the lower fan casing. Now when that happens, you cannot change this. It is a whole new chassis. You need a complete chassis, which involves taking everything off, all the wheels, height control, ratchet. If you wanted to go the whole hog, you could even take off the ratings plate, but everything had to come out to be changed. I would call that a design fault, if I'm totally honest with you, and I don't understand why Electrolux didn't change that on the later models. If you look at the 400 series, the fan was a different shape to what is in the 100 series. It's more designed, I would say, and it is also plastic, and it is also thicker than what's in here, and that is to protect the fan. The 400 series, you would very rarely find one with a smashed fan. Also, in the 400 series, there is a complete metal shroud around the fan and around the body as well. So if anything hits the fan, any stones hit the fan and ping off, it is impossible for that stone to fracture the plastic of the body, of the chassis, of the cover, of the hood. Nothing. It will not do it because it'll hit the metal and then ping off. You would have thought, after all the years of making these, Electrolux would have gone, maybe we need to do something about that lower fan chamber. But they didn't. They just left it. They left it. And honestly, the number of times you would find these with a busted fan chamber, oh, ridiculous. The other problem with them was that they used to block up terribly. There's a T-piece here. A bit of cat hair. This T-piece, where the dust box comes in, this is doing multiple duties. It's the ratchet, it's the pivot points for the dust box. It is also the air duct channel. So the air comes in through the fan, round here, up here, round the corner, up the back of the dust box, round the top, into the bag. So there's there's two very sharp angles right here. There's a right angle here, and there's another right angle here. And what you would find is if people, users picked up like, what's it called? The twine, the stuff that you put around the cables, like wire stuff. Anything like that, anything that had like sharp edges or little tiny pieces of wood that somehow managed to get through the fan, they would wedge themselves at this point, either here or here. The machine would keep going, keep cleaning, up until the point where it totally blocked itself up at this point. Again, that was very, very, very common. Not difficult to fix. Again, 4 screws, hood off, unblock, hood back on, sorted. But you kind of think to yourself, was that a good idea? Probably not. To the positive points of these cleaners, they cleaned carpets exceptionally well. And actually, sometimes to the detriment of themselves, which I will show you in a second. The air duct is incredibly close to the brush roll. They've got a really nice metal base plate which seals itself to the carpet. You can adjust the height of the brush roll by rotating the ends of the bearings. They have like marks on them, 1, 2, 3. 1 is in, 2 is slightly down, 3 is fully down, which is a compensation mechanism for the wear of the bristles on the brush roll as the machine aged. You could bring the bristles and the beta bar down further. However, it could be incredibly violent. Like, these cleaners will pound the shit out of a carpet. They will absolutely pound them. It's pound down for the carpets with these, which makes them exceptional at cleaning carpets. You know, I won't take that away from them, but it can result in some quite significant damage. And if I rotate this machine's brush roll around, you'll see here's the beta strip, and there's a massive chunk taken out of this beta bar. The beta extends, yeah, it's just ever so slightly proud of the base plate. I don't know what setting this particular brush roll's on, but this has hit something and it's just smashed the beta bar. It's broken. So we have like a U-shaped hole in this beta. These guys are okay, they've survived. But again, that was very, very common because they're like bang, 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 bang. The belt was very tight. There was a lot of tension on the belt. There was very little give in the brush rolls. And yeah, they would just break. So, not ideal, not ideal. You'd never get that on a Hoover Junior. And actually, that's an interesting comparison there, isn't it? Find a broken brush roll on a Hoover Junior. No. Find a smashed fan on a Hoover Junior. No. Find a smashed fan case on a Hoover Junior. No. Find a blocked exhaust duct on a Hoover Junior. Incredibly rare. Incredibly rare. Reliability wise, you are better off with a Hoover Junior. User experience wise, I would say these have the edge. They have the edge, and they have the cleaning edge too. They're slightly more powerful. The brush rolls are very effective. And of course, you don't have that hideous cloth bag. And you have a filter as well. There's a filter behind all of these vents. I don't know exactly how effective that filter would be, but it's there for the housewife's peace of mind. And that's about it. That's all I've got to say on these cleaners. I'd really like to know your opinion of them, actually. Do you have them in your collection? Are you looking for them? What do you think of them? Which one would you buy? Would you buy a Hoover Junior or would you buy a 100 series? It's an interesting question. Yeah. What would I have done? I think I probably, well, it depends on the money, doesn't it? You know, like £10 difference, say. £10 now is nothing. But if you're going back to 1973 and you're looking at this or Hoover Junior 1346A, if there's a £10 difference between the two, that is the equivalent of £120 now. That's 120 quid. If the Junior is selling for £100, then no, that's not right. Yeah, if the Junior is selling for 40 and this is selling for 50, it's not £10 difference. It's an extra £120 you have to find. I think that is that 40 quid would be, well, what is that? £400? Yeah, something like that. So, like now, you would buy a Hoover Junior for £400. And if you wanted to buy one of these, you would actually be spending £520. So that is a significant difference. And I think most people, well, they did, didn't they? They did. They chose the Hoover Junior. I can't say I blame them, to be honest. Just on the cost base. Anyway, that's enough talking. What I really want to do now is take you into the kitchen and use all three of these cleaners. So let's get them plugged in, let's get them used. You can see them all going in the same video. I will apologise now that the belts on these two are not great, so we may not get a great deal of brush roll action on them. And I know you say to me, well, why don't you change them? Change the belts, you idiot. Unfortunately, these machines have a specific belt. It's not a very common belt, very hard to find now. Interestingly, top tip for you, a used Hoover Junior 1036 flat belt will actually fit these cleaners. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but if you use a 1036 Junior flat belt for a couple of years, to the point where it's just about to slip, just about to not work on the Junior, that is the perfect size to fit into a 100 series machine. So top tip for you there, save your old 1036 belts and use them on these. Anyway, that's enough. Let's go to the kitchen. We will do the in use. I'll say bye-bye now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.